Okay, hello Minecraft and Infitech fans. Hey, we got the machine running here with the large rotor. The black bronze seems to be like one of the best things you could make. This thing producing over 2000 EU over T. Look at all this power I produced, and I ran a little bit of biogas through, just a tiny bit I had left over that I pulled out of some pipes. This time I ran ethane through, and man, oh man, look at this thing. I ran 64 through, but my goodness, look at all the power I made with this. And poof, out. And I made, it's got a little bit of spin down there. It's spinning down. That's cool to watch. It still kicked a little bit of power out as it spun down. That charged this entire thing, plus all that crap down there. Yeah, I think we did pretty good. Catching my machines up now. Fluid extractor. Just plug her in. This is going to give me fine amounts of power. I can only imagine liquid propane would do even better. In fact, I think it does even better than the diesel boasted whatever crap fuel for this. I mean, that produced a good amount of power. This thing here, pumping it, 64 that fuel will give me what? Maybe 60,000 here, but I think liquid propane would do just as well over on this side. So I'll be powering all of this and eventually all of this. I'll show you how I got this lined up down here. And as you may have seen on the video byline too, I'm also going to be doing some what I'm calling science in Minecraft as well. I figured just to spice these videos up a little, talk a little science too. I don't think that many people are watching them, but it might make people interested in them. Let's see, it'll give me something to talk about when I'm fooling around with other stuff here. I'm going to put this block back here, so I can just take this one out. I know, well, I got a ladder over there too. I can just use the ladder over here. It's kind of pointless to have that otherwise. And I have an extra drum. Let me go put this guy away. Bing. So science in Minecraft. What do we want to talk about? One sec while I get it. Let's see. So this is nice because see, I've got everything nice and compact here. High voltage transformer. I got EV coming up out of this. I got IV running across. Let me go down below, show what we got here. The science in a minute. So we got we're running Minecraft right now. Let's do the science for a bit. Here's the wire. It comes up, platinum cable. There's going to be a little bit of loss in this, but not too hairy. And then this. And eventually I'm going to knock some of this down and oh, I had a nice fall there. And I'll run the cable. I'll run more cable over this way. I might put a buffer or something over here. I might put another buffer here or something. And then I'll run more cable over here, and that's going to go up to another transformer and transform it down. But yeah, we're doing pretty good here. So we're going to hook all these machines up. Let's get all these machines hooked up, and then we can talk some science. It's Science with Dr. Radium. It's a comic I found on its basement years ago. Cutting tool. I should get the fluid and lubricant into it. Connector up. Looking fine. Looking mighty fine. Now I need to get an assembling machine. We want that up here. I want to connect it to that. Well, I'm probably just going to have to pipe it in. Connector up. Yeah, this is going to be beautiful. This is going to be a work of art. And I can turn all that stupid ethane down there. I get enough hydrogen now. So I'm... Let me get some power out of this. Let me turn on. No, good. An asteroid or a centrifuge will come over at some point. Chemical reactor. I knew this guy was going to need to go somewhere. I'm going to put him right here. So put him there. I'm going to have his output hooked up. Get your output hooked up in there. And of course I need to connect the power. I do like this new way of connecting things. It can be a little annoying sometimes when you got to dig in around stuff, but this isn't too bad at all. Now, the electrolyzer, I'm just going to use this one over here for the EV. I might as well. It's super fast, and I can generate nuclear amounts of EV power now, no problem. So I've decided to bring the autoclave over here. So I'll be able to autoclave things from here. And I can set up the output there, and it's buffered away from getting messed up on anything. I'll keep this side on HV for a little bit longer. I still have to keep some of these on HV, so I had to keep the cables over here. I just made new ones. I've got tons of silver, and I'm going to get tons more when I start pulling galena so I can make indium. So, for now, let's just be happy with what we got here. One sec. Alright, there we go. Yay, light bulb. We'll just pretend it's running off power. I do need to make sure we don't connect these or we're going to have a problem. That'll blow that to bits. What else did I have? What else did I have? Oh, yes. What would usually go on at the very end? Oh, that extruder. Extruder. Where is that stupid thing at? Connect that up. Snap in the power. Extruder is going to have lights here. I'll be able to extrude much more quickly now. It's going to make me very happy. I'll put my two most used items in there. Program circuit 20. I don't know what the bloody hell I'm going to do with that. Distillery. I accidentally filled that with water on accident, but oh well. We're doing good now. We got everything nice and cleaned up here. Put the better filter on. Screwdriver to import. We'll be looking good. Put the old one over here. Ooh, might not be a bad idea actually to switch over to stainless steel here. Not only do I get better capacity, slam that guy in, set him to import, and I think we'll be in good shape. Connect that over, there we go. Now we're looking good. I think that'd be better than the steel, which I can just burn up over here. I do need to make a filter something off to the side over there, to the side of that device down there. First, let's get all the last of our machines in here. A fluid solidifier, which I had here connected to this here. A mixer, which went here. We're going to get down to some creative connections. Underneath the thing to do it, I bet. Oh, there we go. I was able to do it. Cool. Extruders in there. What I'm doing with that. Here we go. I'm going to connect this guy over. Now we're looking good. That's all I needed to do. What did I plan to put down here? Polarizer. The disassembler will go over here. In fact, it will probably go in the first position down here so that it can, and then the compressor and everything else will come over. This is going to go right here. Oops. Need one. And the brass item pipe that crap out of there, and I can just auto output. Haha, how's that? Now we're on high voltage over here. Feeling mighty good about it. Get spun around over here. Yeah, just do that. Good enough. Now I can do this. I can take the molds, put them in the solidifier. I do have some, I want to make some of this. Going to do our chemical reactor. Fluid output. Got our molten stuff. Oh right, I got to screwdriver this guy so he can accept input from the output side. Now I'll make tons of silicone rubber, because that's always good stuff to have lying around. I did count right with the 4 earlier. I'm silly. There we go. Let's go see how our power supply is doing down here. Okay. And a lot of the power actually went into the machines to start them up. We're doing pretty good, I'd say. Let's go ahead and run another 64 through here, and that should top it up for a while. You can see it grinding away. And that should start spilling into that pretty soon. There's a spin up time. Get the kitty over here. It's filling the buffer right now, because I remember I drained the buffer a bit. And up it goes. 100 million EUs, a lot of EU. You can see this thing. It's just crunching away. Alright, now we can talk a little bit of science while we wait around for this thing to fill up. So, one of the things that's going on, I'll remember a bit while we're doing that too, out there, as you may have been watching, is the Hayabusa probe. Hayabusa 2, I'm probably butchering this. Hayabusa, that's what it looks like. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, I'm not Japanese, so... but the Hayabusa 2 probe has landed on a distant asteroid. Now, you may have heard, and when a lot of people talk about asteroids and asteroid mining, for example, and the reason that's kind of pertinent is I'm actually kind of working on that in this game myself. You know, I'm getting myself ready to, start mining up asteroids, going into space, starting with the moon, then Mars, then asteroids. So anyway. A lot of people talk about all the metals and stuff. It's like, oh gosh, we'll get so much gold and platinum and blah, blah, blah. Now, at first, some people say, oh, that might flood the market. I'm like, well, at first, it's going to be a trickle. And it's going to be very expensive to get it off those things. The initial pull is going to be very expensive. For one thing, most people think of these rocks as just covered in glittering gold bits and, platinum or whatever. No, they're not like that at all. Maybe not most people think that, but I'm sure there's some people who do. And so, what I'd like to say is this is producing a decent amount of power. Is that it's definitely not like that. What you're going to find on these asteroids is that the material, it's not, it hasn't differentiated out in any way. When the original supernova created this stuff, most of these elements were created as a fine powder. And that stuff's come together. And maybe they melted a little, and some of it might have mixed together, but mostly these particles are going to be embedded in rock. In other words, you're not going to find... these asteroids aren't even going to glitter at all. What you're going to have to do is, they won't as likely be chemically combined with... They might chemically combine with some things, but probably not a whole lot, simply because they haven't had any weathering or anything. Once the rock cooled down, everything pretty much came to a halt at that point. There might have been some mineral formation, but probably not a whole lot. So what you're going to have is you're going to have these metals that are going to be mostly very finely dispersed throughout all that rock. And what you're going to have to do is dig up tons and tons of that rock and then process it. Thing is, we don't even sure how it's distributed, what does it look like. There's a lot of, question marks with regard to that. And so, you might find yourself wondering, hey, what's the fuel in there too? So how much I got from ethane, which was about 10 million EU. I'm gonna let it run down. I like to see a full cycle run of what we're gonna get. Oh yeah, look at that. I got about 10 million EU out of that. So ethane will give you about 10 million EU. Alright, moving on. Let's see what propane or butane can do. I don't know. Naphtha can be burned as well. But the big one is going to be LPG. Liquid propane gas. But I don't want to just eat up all my propane over here because I'm kind of using that for this thing. I want to save my naphtha for other things as well. But still, I think I'll get a decent amount out of these. I can burn up this methane. I'll burn a little bit of it. It's not going to do as well as ethane probably, but alright, anyway, so with asteroids, and we'll burn out both these guys. So with asteroid mining, like I said, they're going to have to dig up tons of that material. It's going to take time to process it. We have to figure out how to separate all that stuff out. So it's not going to be perfect. Now, most people still think about all the metals too, and what they don't really think about is how much of these metals are worth. So anyway, when we start digging into these things, there's you're going to have several types of asteroid to look at. The most rare types are the M type, which are mostly metal. Now those are going to have a lot of nickel and iron in them, and they're going to be worth a lot, but again, you have to get that stuff, you have to haul it back to Earth. There's a cost to bringing it back down. Then there's the S-type, which have more platinum, gold, and stuff like that. The M-type probably do as well. They're probably the best ones for that kind of thing. The S-type are the next good ones. Then you have the C-type, which are more carbonaceous. And they have, they don't have as much of the metals in them. Now, they probably still have some. They probably still have enough to, you know, if you were able to pick up a, you know, asteroid the size of a building and bring it back to Earth, you'd still probably be stupid rich with the materials in it. But interestingly, they're worth more in space, I think, than they are in down here on the ground. And so my reasoning on this is, when you get things like gold and platinum and bring them here, well, if you bring enough of them, one thing, you'll drop the price. There's also going to be an environmental factor to think about. Most of these heavy metals sank to the Earth's core, and there's not that much on the surface. If we start importing tons of platinum, palladium, which is, both of those are actually can be decent catalysts, chemical catalysts as well. If we start importing a bunch of that crap in, what kind of environmental impact do you think that's going to have? Wow, that barely made any power. Yeah, apparently methane's pretty horrible. Anyway, sulfuric gas, sulfuric naphtha, sulfuric light fuel. We still got plenty of heavy oil. I don't know if you can burn ethylene or not. Or propene. I could try it. See what it does. What's the worst that could go wrong here? What could go wrong is I could just... That's good, I was able to get it back out. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Can't eat propene. Even though that is a gas and it should burn. Interesting. Obviously helium ain't gonna burn. Well, anyway. So these asteroids, you can bring all that stuff down. There might be an environmental impact of bringing all these heavy metals down to Earth as well. I don't think anyone's really studied that or thought about it, so that's one thing to consider. Finally, you have to think about the what's in these asteroids. And like I said, most people think, well, the M-types are rare, but the S-types are fairly common. The C-types are the most common of all, but most people think, oh, let's go for the S-types. They got all the shiny metals in them. I'm like, well, yeah, but think about this. Think about space as a desert, okay? It's the driest desert you can ever find, and it's airless as well, to boot. If you were a dying man in the desert, dying of thirst, and you thought if you just had a little more water you could make it to this oasis or a town or something and survive, stay alive, and let's say you ran into a genie, and the genie gave you an option. He could give you a treasure chest full of the world's riches that would make you the richest person in the world, or he could give you a liter of water. What do you think you're going to take? What's worth more to you at that point? Obviously, it's the water. And in space, these C-type asteroids, because they have more water in them, in my opinion, that makes them more valuable than the M and S-type. Even though you can think about all that glitters in those other asteroids, you're still going to find some of that in the C-type. Probably still decent amounts, but you're also going to have water. And that's the big thing you're going to have. Because water is several things in space. It's fuel. It's air. So you can make fuel out of it. It's air, and of course it's water. It's, you know, you can replenish your water supplies. If your water supplies have been recycled so many times, they're getting nasty. Or if you're, or to keep your filters in good shape for, for when you're transiting between places, you might want to tank up on one of these asteroids. So I think companies that get to the C-type asteroids, which is what Hayabusa is looking at right now, that's the one it's studying, and it just successfully dropped 2 probes on the surface too, which is really exciting. And they're going to bring back samples of that. When Hayabusa 2 comes back with those samples, we're going to finally know what these look like. We're going to know what's on them. We're going to know what kind of interesting stuff's in these asteroids. But we're also, but they're not going to be only useful for, seeing some of the building blocks of the solar system, and trying to learn how Earth got a lot of its water, etc. But it's also going to give us information about what we can expect to find on these asteroids, and we might be able to use them as stepping stones to get to other worlds out there. If you can set up a fueling depot on one of these asteroids, you're in a very good position, because when people launch up from Earth, they're not going to want to be carrying tons of water. They're not going to be, because it's heavy. They're not going to want to be carrying tons of fuel. If they can get up to that asteroid and top off their fuel and water up there, you've got the most profitable convenience store in the universe at that point, at least the known universe. And all you're selling is gas and water. You're selling air too, so you can split the water into hydrogen and oxygen and get air, and the air is useful as well. If you have leftover hydrogen, you can use it to top off someone's hydrogen supplies if they sprang a leak or something and had to fix a ship. You've got a little extra hydrogen for them, so you've got plenty of that. You can also, I'm sure there's other uses for it too. You might be able to manufacture stuff with it on the asteroid surface as well. But you've got a lot of interesting uses for this water on these asteroids, and that I think is where the real money is going to be. Not so much in mining stuff and bringing it back to Earth, but who has the gas station out there. That's the only gas station, the only convenience store, so to speak, that's floating out there in space, where you want to connect your rocket, fuel it up, and then fly off to Mars or one of the moons of Jupiter or wherever else you're headed. These things are going to be very important. And so it's going to be, and we have another OSIRIS-REx. OSIRIS-REx is a U.S. probe that's headed toward another C-type asteroid, and we're going to get samples from that as well. We'll get our samples later than Japan's, but, our scientists are cool with each other. They're going to talk to each other and share their data. And it's going to be very exciting for both our countries to do this. And like I said, Japan's going to be very much in the news right now. You just heard about that guy who's, and this is what I think is really cool. Elon Musk has his problems, but I think it's very cool that he chose someone who's into the arts and is going up. Not only is he going to pay to go to the moon, but he's paying artists to come with him. I don't think we've actually, I think some guys paint. I don't know if it was Buzz Aldrin or one of the other astronauts. I know at least one of them painted. But I think they did it more as a hobby. This guy's going to take some people up there that do art for a living. And I think that's going to be very interesting, because I don't think we've ever sent a full-time artist has ever been to space before, let alone around the moon. And that also means that the first non-American around the moon is very likely to be someone from Japan, unless China or India gets somebody up around there first. We'll be able to say, hey, first non-American up there, they came from Japan. That'll be a very big point of pride for the Japanese. So that'll be a very good thing. Space is getting very interesting right now. As you, of course, may have seen in the news, there hasn't been a lot of good news lately. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of problems. There's been a lot of infighting. There's been a lot of, this and that versus the United States and Russia and China, etc. And I want to point out, while we're on the topic of science and space, that one of the big bright hopes we have out there right now can actually occasionally be seen in the sky, and that's the International Space Station. Despite all these problems, the United States and Russia work together to build the bulk of that space station, and they still work together to operate it. Other countries helped as well: Canada, Japan, the European countries. that big cupola they used to take lots of neat photos from, built by Italy. Canada built the robot arm. And Japan supplied laboratories, equipment, and other things. A lot of astronauts from various countries have been up there. And it's really great to see people working together up there. And, you know, whatever the politics here on the ground, it shows that people can work together. And that's something I think is going to be critical for us to get out into, out into space and actually start becoming a, spacefaring species. Right now, we've barely scratched the surface of it. We're tooling around in low orbit. We've been to the moon a few times, but that's about it. We do have robot probes. Our robots, we've put more of our robots out there than we have ourselves. But that's going to start changing. But the only way, but it's not going to change as quickly as we'd like unless we learn to start working together. And right now, destructive conflicts, the Cold War, so much energy was wasted. Yeah, we had the space race. But so much more was wasted on simply posturing at each other. You know how much it costs to keep bombers in flight 24/7? And the United States and the Soviet Union spent, just horrible amounts of money keeping these bombers flying just in case they needed to attack each other. And it's just horribly wasteful. Now, Russia's doing a little bit of that again. I'm sure the U.S. is doing some of that too. Now with the South China Sea, this kind of crap's happening, and it's destructive. It's destructive and it's stupid, and it's not going to get us. It's not going to get us to cool places. It's going to keep us bound. It's going to keep us bound down here on Earth. It's something that needs to change. Very unfortunate that we have to go through this kind of thing, but I don't know what else to say. That's what the epoxy. Make some more of those probably, yes. But anyway, very unfortunately, we are seem to be back in the old pattern of we're back into trade wars and Cold Wars, and these are destructive things that are not gonna be productive in the long run. Unfortunately, a lot of this boils down to greed. You have a lot of you have this big rise in authoritarianism now, and it's not a good thing. That strong-arm leaders, they might seem to make your country stronger up until the point where that leader goes away and you get a bad leader, or that leader begins making bad decisions. I mean, some people have talked about, oh well, Hitler did there are some idiotic people who talk about how Hitler actually did good things for Germany for a while. It's like, well, he reindustrialized it. Then he began doing terrible things. And that's the problem with having a strong-arm leader, is if they start making bad decisions, you're along for the ride. And the German people got the shit bombed out of them in World War II. Well, so did a lot of other people, but Germany was a wreck after the war. I mean, it was an absolute wreck. And that happened because one man was in a position of almost unassailable power and made very bad decisions, and that's all it takes. That's why democracy is very important. That's why we need to defend it. And unfortunately, we're seeing some countries actively try to push back against it. China, for example, has become very bad about this. I know, kind of veering off science a little, but the politics part of it's important too, the geopolitics, because when it comes to getting out into space and doing the really big, hardcore science, we're all in it together. It's not something any one nation can completely do on their own. The United States has done some neat things, but in space, but that's, you need to understand that's a you found superpowers here. If this doesn't work out too well, I need to get these chips. I'll keep that one there. And we're going to start producing And we're looking pretty good, aren't we? Make a little MV. I want to make another. I'm going to get the pyrolyze working again. Anyway, the energy hatch. So, you know, we're gonna have to start solving some of these problems, and authoritarianism is a bad thing. It leads to inefficient government over time. I might think, oh, one guy making all the decisions is a lot more efficient. Well, yeah, not exactly. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I need to break to EV, HV, MV. And I'll have a lot of shit for that. What I might end up doing is just bringing the gas over as needed. Actually, I might actually pipe some gas straight back down into this. Go get some pipes. I think I am going to do that. Because this thing, it's a little inefficient to do that the other way. And it'll gas me back up. There we go. We're going to get that running on gas. I kept this section over here running on gas. And the other side, we'll do what we can here. We're producing more useful stuff now. Alright. Where's all those trees I clipped earlier? Cut down. There they are. Yeah, give me all that. Let's go produce some useful stuff. I'll have to rehammer the thing, get it running again. Have the right circuit in there, I think so. And I'm going to produce more of this. Oh well, anyway. I haven't run it with the nichrome yet either, so that'll be interesting to see how fast it does its thing. Here comes the wood tar. Here comes the rest of it. Cool. Laid that up. Make tons of sticks for me. So we're going to switch the item output on. Item output. I connect this guy up back here. Probably not. So I had to pull that one out of the way so I could get that connected. I have to reconnect this guy. Yeah, well. Here's what it is. Alright, anyway. Like I said, we've still got a lot of work down here on Earth to do. We got to get past the some of the bad governance that's out there. It's going to take time. This isn't something we're going to get over in a short amount of time. Oh yeah, I kind of got bored and built this crap. Thought it'd be cool to build something like this. I wasn't sure if these were going to have X's on them or not. I think they're well lit enough. If I came out just a little further, I'd have had to knock that out. I'll plant this further away. So I get these guys. Oh wait, these aren't coming up. Maybe there's something out in the way or something. Clip this grass out of the way here. Looking good. Lots of factory space here. I don't know what I'm going to do with these extra bits of tree. Burn them up. Guess when I get enough of them, I'll roast them up. Oh right, that's actually wasteful. I want to use the buzzsaw. Beautiful. Charge her up. And put it away. Now I've got wood. Lots and lots of wood. And I'll get my sticks. Clear it up here. A little extra wood, which I'll just pump into this here. I can build chests, whatever else is needed. Wood pulp. Remember how valuable that crap used to be? Any luck, that hasn't touched that yet. Nope. That's because it's still pulling the buffer and maybe a little what's in the wire. Yeah, we're very efficient now. And if I see this buffer start to go down, I'll know I've tapped the limits a little. Now, when I get this other one on there, though, this one can pull a lot of power. I might want to leave this one on what it's on right now. Although, maybe I could bump it to high voltage and just say, you know, it's going to draw a little of that. Who cares? Now, the other option is I pull this down, put it in that thing, and maybe it's more efficient that way. I might need to more, you know. When this thing's the only thing that's left on gas, maybe then I'll... I can't really route the output into the turbine on this one because it's going to not produce enough gas quickly enough. That turbine will suck it down way faster than it can make it. But what would be nice is I can just pull those barrels over there and load them in as quickly as I can. And oops, recycle. It is a recycler, isn't it? Yes. Let's see. I need to pull that stuff in, so I'm going to need to make a. Let's make some bronze rotors, shall we? That means we're going to make some bronze. Method of the madness here. Full soldering. That. You want 34, because I want to make some rings. I'll slap these back into the thing here. I want to make plates with these. The bronze screws I have will be useful. Good. Small bronze pipe, that'll be useful. My rubber rings. Oh, really? They're gonna need bars to do that. Go ahead and make all that up. Oh, yay me, look at all that. Cable, the motor, this thing here. Got what we need. There's a bit of soldering alloy left in there, and I just bash it out. Fortunately, there's always going to be a tiny bit of waste. What am I missing? The rings. Duh. You can actually save some material by doing it this way because you got the small pipe. That didn't work. Pump. I want the regulator. I want the pump. I'm sorry, you need a steel pipe, not a bronze. Derp. But I only need to use one piece of steel. Now see, normally I need to use the one that takes 3 steel. So you can see that this is actually saving me some material by doing it like this. Not just doing it for the sake of automation or time, or not having to dig up a screwdriver and a wrench. This is actually saving you materials. So there's a bit of a hope in doing that. I don't know the method of the madness here. This is my use for this quantum tank. Now I'm going to go purposely run myself out of gas here. Let's go put 512 gas through this and see what we get. We'll come back and see what kind of damage we did. I saw something moving up here. My imagination, I guess. And then that'll produce stuff. I also did a, oh yes, I had a problem with the nether. Can't find those skeleton dudes, man. Those wither guys. I need to fight the wither so I can get a couple nether stars. I need to find a couple withers, actually, so I can get nether stars. Well, unfortunately for me, I can't do that. Why? Because the Doom monsters appear much more frequently, and they spam up the area so much that there's no room, there's no real headspace to spawn out the wither, the skeleton dudes. More than likely, I'm just going to get a Doom monster that pops up instead. So, I did find one skeleton after an hour of searching, of stomping around in a nether fort. An entire hour of that. And what did I get out of it? One wither that didn't drop a head when I killed it. So, deciding that this game is decidedly broken on that front. I decided, well, you know, it sucks that they made you use nether stars to get what you need. So what I'm going to do is I just went ahead and hacked myself wither skulls. Now, I'm going to get the soul sand together, and that's the other problem I have. I can't find soul sand down there. I have looked all over. I have spent hours in the nether today looking for it. Nearly getting killed many times, and I haven't found a bloody thing. So, what's to be done? I don't know. You tell me. So, what I've done is I set myself up a sludge boiler. And I'm going to try to be fair as I can. The wither skulls I just gave to myself. Because, you know, just had to be done. This should start... there is a chance, small chance, I'll get some soul sand out of this. Otherwise, I'm probably going to have to use these. So I did go ahead and create a sludge boiler. This thing will poison you when it starts operating. So you just have to stay with it, wait more than 4 blocks away from it. It's not that big of a freaking deal. So I'm just going to let it do its thing. This thing's going to start pulling carrots. See a quick attack my field there. Tons and tons of carrots are going to get processed through, and we're going to make more gas. Which, of course, you know, I did expand that at some point to 10 units instead of 4 operating. I could pump it up. I could bump it 1 or 2 more times, I think. I can bump it 1 more time, and then I'll put this wooden pipe up against the ceiling. And I could go a little over and make an ugly-looking hump on my ceiling, but I don't know if I want to do that or not. But anyway, that would increase my gas production a little from the carrots. I'm going to have to keep searching for soul sand, probably. It's producing good amounts of power. Like I said, it's very efficient at what it does. There's no losses like you're getting on those other generators. This thing here is doing it 120% efficiency. You're going to get some losses in the cables. I think that's going to come out as very small compared to the losses you get in the generators with the gas. Every once in a while I'll come down and I'll feed in. You can see it, but it just sucks that way faster than it can produce it. I could move that whole gas production facility down here, put it over here or something in this corner. But then a lot of the gas is getting used over there, so I'm just going to leave it where it's at. That's a big hassle. Funny, I actually originally had it down here in the basement, and then I moved it out. But yeah, you can see how fast it uses this gas up. Quantum tank will be nice, because I can just dump the whole damn barrel in there and let it rip. I can always run some light oil and get a lot of sulfuric gas and make a lot of LPG as well, which I think would produce probably... I don't have enough to do a good test with it right now. I need to save what I've got to use in my other machinery for the moment, but I will eventually kick some down here and show you what it can do. I'll run 64 through and we'll see how much energy that generates. I suspect it's going to be substantial. Given the 64 ethane gives you 10 million EU. I compare that to the 50 million or so you get from the cetane boosted diesel. But if LPG has a similar energy production value, we might be able to really bust some heads here. Alright, there we go. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the science talk here. It's always fun to discuss things like that, although it's not much of a discussion, it's just me monologuing about it. But yeah, I do hope things improve so that we can stop fighting each other and working towards, you know, important things like that. But unfortunately, it comes down to greed. You've got people who they think that they are the only one who knows better than anybody else. That's how you get leaders like Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump. All 3 of them are equally as bad, in my opinion. They're all bad for various different reasons, but they're bad. But it boils down to their own personal greed and their thought that they're the only one who can tell everyone else how to live and how to do things. And that's a problem. it leads to disaster in the end. Its history is just littered with examples. And look what's happening in Venezuela. That guy, can't believe he's still in power because of this kind of behavior. And it's going to be destructive in the end. I think probably eventually you're going to have a big collapse. It only takes the leader to start making very bad decisions, or to, make or to start making or that leader dies, and then you get a guy who takes over. He uses the state apparatus to keep himself in power, but he's, starts making really poor decisions. All it takes is something like that, and then you've got more problems and more pain. Alright, just to break these up a bit, I'm going to go ahead and stop this one, and I'll start another one here. Thank you for watching.